Don Siegel's The Killers, what an irreverent, wild, and unpredictable number. Now, there's a certain audacity to the floppy, film-for-film's sake bravura of The Killers. This is downstream of The Lady from Shanghai or The Woman on the Beach. Operating like a bizarre dream, no one could possibly expect this to read so well as a functional screenplay. The dialogue is superlative, highly engaging and sharpened. However, the reliance on flashbacks, overemphasis on archetypes, and the vague gluttonous nihilism really betray any notion that this would have read really well as a screenplay. Not referring to the original short story this is based on. I'm referring to the specific screenplay of this film as written by Gene L. Coon of Star Trek fame. However, as a film, Siegel expects these events to be engaging because he insists that they are. We don't stop to think, this is weird, unless we choose to, otherwise it is too tempting to join the ride. Now The Killers has aged like a fine wine due to the presence of a particular head of state, an American president, in his only performance as an antagonist, reminding one of those conspiracy theories which hold that George H.W. Bush operated as an agent of the CIA during the high modernist Kennedy glamour era of the 1960s, where in this film very thoroughly takes place. Ronald Reagan's presence as Jack Browning is one of the most fascinating phenomena in media history. As though ripened for use in an Adam Curtis collage, Reagan's performance at the time of The Killer's 1964 release would have beckoned negative comparisons to Jack Palance and sneering at Reagan's versatility as a performer in general. Not unfounded, maybe I would have felt the same way at the time. What we have now, though, is a film role that has fine-tuned itself, unknowingly, unintentionally, to the growth of history. Reagan, associated with being a Max Headroom-esque talking head icon of American visual authority, lends itself to feeling enthralled with his presence in Siegel's The Killers. An obvious suggestion of Fonda's role in Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West is anticipated. Reagan, the humble, safe-for-work cowboy playing against caste for fascinating affect, and this can be granted as a point, although Henry Fonda was never the president except on stage and film. As the eventual president of the United States, the free world, the most powerful individual in the world other than, some would claim, accuse his assertive wife, Reagan became one of the most contentious public figures in modern human history. So if the projected image of Reagan, from the status quo, as a kind old benevolent quasi-cowboy conservative who acted as a moderate yet firm bulwark against anti-American competition internationally, and insisted upon the 1950s Americana paradise as indeed that, it enforces the counterclaims that Reagan, despite the PR facade, was a bloody, callous tyrant comparable to the Vietnam War-era figures such as Johnson and Nixon. Therefore, Reagan was ripe for satirical sneering. The action versus presentation of Reagan set a brief standard for American Republican civility of a jovial manner, in a PR respect, until Trump kicked it all down. Woe this timeline. The tease of what these people were like behind closed doors, without the cameras, without the presence of anyone except those who would stay silent or forget what the president said or did, is gargantuan and wholly enticing. The Nixon tapes are macabrely adored for their stripping away of a seemingly mild-mannered, awkward, socially conservative veneer of an insecure head of state. So when a film exists which effectively acts as the aesthetically legible account of Reagan's secret years as a devious criminal tyrant, the thrill of witnessing the supposedly friendly head of state politician committing the activities which they would surely kill to smother all knowledge of is wholly sated indeed. One of the least stiff, square, predictable, monoform and dry films of the pre-New Hollywood epoch was surely the B-crime noir film's answer to auteurist indulgent excess, and via a filmmaker who certainly was one, an auteur, Siegel, honing a sloppy sharpness which recalled the priorities of America's John Huston with the carefree imaginative motivators of Japan's Seijun Suzuki, or possibly closest to France's Jules Dassin. Siegel believed in films for their own sake, that a flat or functional pulp screenplay could have its threads elevated and idealized, transcendent, via stylish, confident, convicted film direction. The Killers was plausibly Siegel's masterpiece, and possibly the most cinematically exciting of Hemingway adaptations yet accomplished.